Alright, nice. Extraction of blue bloods. I remember when I was talking about something a couple weeks ago, it was referring to Enoch and these blue bloods. And then I remember something else that I had saw when I had went back inside my apartment. There was a movie on, and it was so coincidental, as in it was almost like, was it a coincidence? I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Underworld, with I can't remember the actor's name, but it's about vampires pretty much. It came out in the early 2000s, I think 2003, 2004, on that line. And I remember there was 3 different types of these beings. There was werewolves and vampires, and they couldn't always, like, the vampires and werewolves couldn't get along with each other. But then you had this other type where it was like they were mixed between werewolves and vampires, so they could turn into vampires or werewolves. And they were called blue bloods. Every time you shot them, they bled. They would bleed blue. Their blood was blue. That's why they called them blue bloods. And I'm just wondering, because I have thought about this, prayed, but thought and prayed. And I'm just wondering if the blue bloods doesn't show up like, okay, it doesn't oxidize the same way red blood oxidizes, because it's more, what is it, like copper alkaline or something, copper based or something like that. And so it doesn't oxidize out the same way red blood does. Then, does it show up more physically, as in, do you actually see it as blue blood? Is it actually real blue blood, or is it more of a, because someone said, even from Enoch, that I was told that Cain's bloodline has already been destroyed off the earth, and now Seth's bloodline. But the thing is that you have to, that spoke to me, okay, if it doesn't show up physically as blue blood, what if it's more spiritually? Like, what if it's like more of a spiritual blue blood? If it doesn't physically show up, but it still appears as red blood, but it doesn't oxidize out the same way, because there's two different sources in the blood. There's copper and there's alkaline. There's copper-based blood and there's alkaline-based blood. Remember the sacrifices I was talking about when Cain and Abel presented it to God, and one was alkaline, one was copper. And it just makes you wonder, if it's not physical blue blood, what if it's more of a spiritual battle between this? The blue bloods will never come to the realization of what truth is, the truth. Not any truth, but the truth. Okay? And so, carrying with that, going along with that, the whole theory of werewolves and vampires and all that stuff, Nephilim, Anunnaki, whatever, it makes you wonder, if it's not a physical thing, what if it's more spiritual? And what if it's so much as spiritual that the blue bloods really still carry Cain's anger? Because remember how when his sacrifice was denied and God didn't take it, and his anger began to grow and grow and grow? And you hear all this other talk about, yeah, it was actually Eve that had mated with the snake to produce out Cain's seed, the Nakash or whatever it is, the Nakash bloodline, the Nakash demonic seed that was supposed to be birthed from Eve with the snake. Now, honestly, yes, it doesn't gonna tell you every single detail in the Bible, but at the same time, what if it's so much deeper? Like, what if it is, instead of so much physically blue blood, but what if it's Sorry about that. I'm trying to drive, so it can be kind of difficult. What if it's more like so much deeper? Like, what if it's spiritual? Like blue blood is Cain's anger carried over as well. Never coming to the realization of truth with these blue bloodlines, the demonic bloodline, the Nakash. I watched another guy known as God in the Nutshell, and he talks about the same thing. The Nakash was the demonic seed birthed out from the garden, from Adam, or from Eve and the snake, from Eve to the serpent, carried out, going forth, the Nakash seed. What if there really is something to this? And even in Enoch talks about, you know, when he was there, it was one of the archangels, Rachiel, I believe his name was, and it talks about the spirit that when Cain had killed his brother Abel, from that, when his sacrifice was denied, that spirit makes suit with Abel's spirit until it is wiped off the face of this earth, which I believe it's more spiritual. Even when someone came along and said that spirit was wiped off, what is with this symbolism? You have to wonder. And this is a lot deeper than what most churches will even tell you. You know, if it's anything biblically deeper, it's always going to be outside of God's word, outside of the Bible, because yes, God's word, like the Bible, is like so much, it's illicit, as in it's only so explicit with how it goes. Like it doesn't tell you every single detail of the root causes of everything in the word. It doesn't lay out everything step by step, stone by stone. I believe it's just so much more deeper than what we realize. And that's it. Pray on it. Maybe even do some research. That's just what. But if you go and watch even Underworld, these beings, and even Resident Evil, all these other movies, they present out all the symbolism too. It's blue bloods. It's always like the blue bloods versus the red bloods. Like, it's almost like a battle. It's always a battle between the good and evil, and it always has to do with red bloods and blue bloods. Why is that? Why? Blessings, Fireness. Godspeed. Out.